How many of you support marijuana? The legalization of marijuana is consistently discussed and debated, not only in North America, but throughout the entire world. Despite being illegal in every country, marijuana remains the most widely used illicit drug in the world. The popularity of this drug is the cause for the continuous legalization debate, resulting in various legislations pertaining to the consumption of the substance. One of the most frustrating outcomes of marijuana prohibition is that many sick people cannot legally access the medicine that works best for them. There are so many arguments on why legalizing medical marijuana is important to those who would benefit from it and those who actually need it. From my perspective, my argument is that the government should provide effective medicine to those who require marijuana to help them cope with their illness or conditions. For many serious ill people, medical marijuana is the only medicine that relieves their pain and suffering, or treats symptoms of their medical condition without bringing side effects into play. According to WebMD, marijuana has been shown to elevate symptoms of a huge variety of serious medical conditions, including cancer, AIDS, glaucoma, and is often an effective alternative to synthetic painkillers. Moving on to the bigger picture, I'm going to share with you the bigger benefits of marijuana legalization and the effects it would have on our country. The criminalization of marijuana use disproportionately harms young people and people of color, sponsors massive levels of violence and corruption, and it fails to curb youth access. Legalizing and regulating marijuana will bring one of the nation's largest cash crops under the rule of law. This will ultimately create jobs and economic opportunities in the formal economy instead of the illicit market. SCAR's law enforcement resources will be better used to ensure public safety while reducing correction and court costs. State and local governments would acquire a significant new source of tax revenue from regulating marijuana sales. And lastly, marijuana production testing is becoming a standard requirement for legalized marijuana markets. This means consumers are better informed about the marijuana they use. The legalization of marijuana only points in the direction of economic sense. The drug war is responsible for hundreds of billions of citizens' wasted tax dollars and misallocated government spending, as well as devastating human costs that far outweigh the damage caused by drugs alone. The United States' unrevealed incarcerated rate is a constant financial drain, causing an unmeasurable loss in workforce productivity and puts a strain on legal and law enforcement resources. While the federal government spends billions trying to reduce the demand for illegal drugs through prohibition, treatment consistently proves to be a more effective, cheaper, and more human way to lower the demand for illegal drugs. The war on drugs has also driven the drug market underground, creating a violent, illicit market that is responsible for far too many lost lives and broken communities. Organized crime, gangs, and drug cartels have the most gained financially from prohibition, and these profits can easily be the incentive for arms smuggling, violence, and corruption. The devastation brought by Mexican cartels in particular has made it far too costly to continue with the failed prohibition strategy. Prohibition is also to blame for an enormous opportunity cost. Despite the tax revenue and economic opportunities that a regulated marijuana market could generate, our laws still prevent the legal sale of the nation's largest cash crop. Combined with the savings from any prohibition enforcement, marijuana taxation could generate revenue for federal and state governments. According to the DPA, one of their main goals is to put an end to wasteful government spending on the drug war by leading the nation's dialogue about ending prohibition and refocusing resources on evidence-based health approaches to drug use. Marijuana prohibition is an utter failure. Public opinion has shifted in favor of reforming federal and state marijuana laws, and it's not hard to see why the tables have turned. According to CNN, prohibitionists laws waste billions of dollars criminalizing marijuana users, even for low-level offenses. African Americans and Latinos are disproportionately arrested for marijuana, even though white people use marijuana at similar rates. Prohibition fosters an illegal marijuana market that benefits organized crime, drug cartels, and gangs. In criminalizing marijuana, extremely ill patients are unable to access beneficial medical marijuana treatment. Lastly, legalizing marijuana would allow law enforcement agencies to focus on real crime and bring in a new source of tax revenue. Incarcerating people for nonviolent drug offenses destroys lives, because with a criminal conviction under your belt, it isn't easy to get a job, and you're not eligible for student loans, which doesn't leave a lot of legal options open for a productive life. Even if someone was never incarcerated, the criminal or felon label can follow a person convicted of a drug law violation for the rest of his or her life. A drug arrest may even result in even illegal residence deportation. Policies that exclude and discriminate against people with a conviction are so numerous and varied that they have effectively created a permanent second-class status for millions of Americans. Often the only difference between a person with a drug conviction and one without is that the former was unlucky enough to have gotten away with it. Given the systematic racism inherent in the drug war, these lifelong exclusions inequitably affect individuals and communities of color. Criminal records are also cited as a reason to deport immigrants and bar other non-citizens from visiting the United States. These barriers, like drug war enforcement itself, fall disproportionately on individuals and communities of color. Relative to the crime being committed, the punishments for drug law violations are unjustifiably harsh and cause more harm than the drug itself. So today, I talk to you about the effects of marijuana legalization and its benefits for not only those who use and support it, but the federal government's involvement with the reform process as well. This is an ongoing argument that can never seem to come to an end, or at least it seems that way. There are so many sides and aspects to this argument that, in my opinion, could go a lot of ways and have many different outcomes. But my way would be to legalize it as a country and to do ourselves a favor as American citizens and encourage the change to finally become the normal. And I believe in going through the whole legalization process. It would just simply make our country a whole lot less chaotic than it made it already. Thank you.